Hi guys, Daniel here, and I'm back once again with another video for you. Today, I'm exploring the pages of issue 10 of Combat Patrol magazine. Let's dive into the meat of it. With this issue, you get a librarian in Terminator Armour and a medium base brush. Direct from Games Workshop, these items will set you back a whopping £30, so you're saving over 66% here. Even if you were to get them from a third-party retailer, you're likely still saving over 50%, so you'd be a fool to skip on this issue. Opening up the magazine, we're met with the first 2 pages of how to build instructions. The model comes with around 14 parts, so it's a little more complicated than some of the Tyranids we've built recently. So take your time and don't forget to dry fit before committing to glue. The next 2 pages are our how to paint guide, covering everything we've done so far with our other Space Marine miniatures. We use almost all of our paints here: MacLeod Blue, Abaddon Black, Retributor Armour and Wraithbone to base coat the model and block out the various areas of colour. The Ecclesiarchy is the next branch of the Imperium to be covered. Any student of language will recognise the root of this word, that being ecclesiacal, which means relating to or constituting a church or denomination. You'd be right to assume that the Ecclesiarchy is the spiritual or religious branch of the Imperium. Religious zealotry is rife in the 41st millennium, particularly amongst the human population of the galaxy. Faith in the Emperor is often the only thing that stands between mortals and utter despair. Shrines of faith are found across the Imperium. Its citizens redouble their efforts to defend the realm of man in the shadow of these structures. They often depict heroes of the Imperium, such as Space Marines or the living saints of the Sisters of Battle. The cult imperialis is one way the Imperium maintains its stranglehold on its citizens. Preachers travel to the far reaches of the galaxy to ensure that local deities are seen as aspects of the Emperor, much in the same way as missionaries of various religions have travelled to the 4 corners of the world to convert local populations throughout Earth's history. Space Marines fight with a series of battle tactics or approaches to warfare known as doctrines. Often, the first doctrine a commander will use is the Devastator Doctrine. It is essentially a blitzkrieg strategy, sowing fear and confusion amongst enemy lines, using heavy weapons and overwhelming firepower to break the back of the enemy. The Space Marines are almost always outnumbered, but never outgunned. Lies detected. Space Marines are outgunned by a number of forces, including the Imperial Guard and the Tau. Those Space Marines definitely have the biggest arsenal of weapons available to choose from. They don't have enough bodies on the tabletop to deploy them more effectively than some of their opponents. Sometimes this magazine reads like a piece of Imperial propaganda to me. Anyway, on this page you can see 3 of the varied gun platforms the Astartes can deploy: the Ballistic Dreadnought, the Storm Talon gunship and the Repulsor Executioner. They'll select the most appropriate war engines they have at their disposal based on their opponents and the battlefield terrain and conditions. Over the page we meet our librarian in Terminator Armour. Librarians combine the physical might of a Space Marine with psychic powers. They channel the raw energy of the warp and focus it into devastating attacks such as waves of magical lightning. Once again, on this page we have a background table as well as the chance to name our new character using the Space Marine naming table from a previous issue. It's worth pointing out that these names may not be as suitable for all chapters, though there are plenty of other places to find naming inspiration. Over the page we get the datasheet for our librarian with the impressive stat block of a Space Marine hero combined with the extra bonuses of being a psyker. He is a formidable opponent. You'll notice that other than his Stormbolter, he also has 2 choices of Smite listed as his ranged weapons. These are representative of psychic abilities, as well as a Veil of Time ability, which gives him and any unit he joins the Sustained Hits rule. The next 4 pages cover weapons rules for the first time, the first discussing pistols and rapid fire. The pistol rule basically allows you to fire a weapon with it at a unit you're in engagement range with. A rapid fire weapon gives you extra shots at half range of the weapon. On the next page we're walked through 2 more rules, the first of which, Blast, is found in the profile of the barb launchers carried by our barb gaunts, and the second, Torrent, is found on the weapons of our Infernus Marines. So these are 2 that you should definitely familiarise yourself with. Heavy, devastating wounds and psychic are covered on the 3rd page. And finally, Assault and Hazardous on the last of the rules pages. Scenario 6, Mind Over Matter. This mission gives us a chance to practice the many rules we've just read through, with the Librarian taking to the field of battle against 3 Tyranid units. Remember to think carefully when moving your Librarian. If he's not in range with his weapons, he won't be able to attack the Tyranids. Both his Stormbolter and Smite attack have a range of 24 inches. If you also want to charge a unit, you'll have to be within 12 inches. It's important to work through the Tyranid units systematically, focusing on one until it's destroyed, then targeting the next. On the next page, we're advised that the target priority for the Librarian should be as follows: 1. Winged Prime, 2. Von Ryan's Leapers, 3. Termagants. While the threat posed by each of the unit is assessed correctly, with the positioning of the Von Ryan Leapers at the start of the battle, I'd definitely make them your priority target. They're far too close to ignore. The following page advises us on how to move and use the Tyranids if we're playing solo, as well as some tips for the Tyranid player if there is one. The final picture diagram lets us know how best to nullify the Space Marine character, engaging him in combat as quickly as possible, no longer allowing him to shoot or use Smite. Play through the mission a few times to familiarise yourself with the new rules and how best to use your units in game. Make sure it's an odd number of times though, so you can see how the narrative pans out. Next week it's another paint issue. I've got a feeling these two will make the Space Marines start to pop. We'll also learn about the Omnissiah and the Command Face. Following that, across issues 12 and 13, we'll get some devastating Space Marine reinforcements in the form of 5 Terminators. This is a unit I've definitely been looking forward to myself, so much so that I ordered an extra copy of each from Forbidden Planet. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come back next week to find out who or what is the Omnissiah. Until then, I'll see you on the battlefield.